Hey everybody, this is Kate Emerson and I'm saying hi from South Africa. It's a Women's Month where we celebrate everything about women, who we are, what we deserve, what we hope for, what we dream for. And part of, for me, being a woman is also being very in touch with our emotions. But one of the things I've found is that for myself and for my clients is we don't always know how to process our emotions. So what we do is we tend to judge. There's those air quotes. We tend to judge the so-called negative emotions when we feel sad, bitter, resentful, angry, pissed off. All of those things, we go, I shouldn't be feeling them. Really? That's bollocks. Of course, we ought to be able to feel them. I think the sign of being healthy, woman, man, children, is being able to access the full range of emotions. So what I'm far more interested in is how do you and I and everybody out there, how do we learn to process and make sense of our emotions? So what are your go-to tools? I know for myself, I've got some default ones that might not be the most healthy. So sometimes I might drink too much coffee, or I might drink a little bit too much wine, or I might eat not so healthily, because those are kind of what sort of my pattern is running in my body and through my history. But I also know that I have places to go to, either within myself as resources or people that I go to that help me get back on track. You know that annoying saying that says it's not about how many times we fall down, it's how many times we get back up. And I do find the ones that annoy me the most, they annoy me because they're true. So I've been going through some ups and downs. A lot of you already know this, and I'm like you. So I get a little depressed, I get a lot depressed, I get frustrated, I get disillusioned, I get what the fuck. And sometimes I fall into that hole, and then I go, okay, Kate, what do we need to do? You're still on this planet, you still have a job to do, you have a mission, you have a purpose. Sometimes I don't always understand what that is if I'm having a wobble. But I always have my go-to tools that I can refer to in order to help me get back up again. So I have a couple that are my favorites when I'm not doing the food, alcohol, coffee, wine, all of that stuff. So one of them is something I call EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which is tapping. If you've been one of my clients, you've probably done it with me at some stage. And it's just a way of moving beyond the surface emotion, because often the surface emotion is not the one that's actually really going on. It's just holding all of the other emotions underneath it in place. And quite often at the top is anger or irritation, and really underneath might be sadness or hopelessness. And if we can get to the lower emotions, we can process them a lot faster. So if you don't know about that, that's a technique to look up, or maybe come and do it with me in a session, in a coaching session. So that's one of mine that I use, and I've been known to use it on trains, cars, planes, automobiles, just not while I'm driving, of course, to sit in the garden and grab a box of tissues and just do some tapping to just let myself move through the emotions rather than getting stuck on this side of them, because that's never healthy for too long. One of the second things I do is it's a very spiritual practice called recapitulation, and it's all about pulling our energy back from people, places, events, happenings, so that we're much more in the now, because we are beings that experience stuff, well, depending on your spiritual affiliation, but let's just talk about being in this life. From the moment we're born, we start reacting to and responding to our environment, and our energy gets hooked on people, places, and things. So one of the things that I teach about living light is how to release a lot of our spiritual energy, emotional energy, mental energy from things that we are holding on to. And I'm not saying that we have to kick them out of our life, but I'm just saying sometimes we need a little bit of, I'll do it that way, detachment, so that we're not so hooked in and bound into, so that we have a little bit of freedom, so that we can make better, more fulfilling and evolved, actually, choices. So tapping, recapitulation, and the third one I want to share with you today is something that you all know that I do, but it's such a powerful technique, and that is writing. And there's different forms of writing. So you could be writing a book, you could be writing a story, you could be writing a novel. You could also simply be writing to process because you have something that you want to get out of yourself. So two of the ways I write are morning pages. So morning pages is where you handwrite, so you get a pen and paper or a journal. You don't have to keep it, you can screw it up afterwards, it's fine. It's about processing or what I call vomiting your emotions out. And you typically do it in the quiet of the morning. So as you wake up, maybe you make a cup of tea or coffee or lemon water. You sit somewhere beautiful, or it's in your bed, and you write before the day gets going. So before your head has kicked in, before all your obligations are pulling at you, before you've had conversations with anybody, even if it means waking up 10-15 minutes earlier. And it's where you get to just dump all of the stuff that's going on through you, out you, onto the paper. And sometimes it's just, I don't know what to write. And sometimes it's, I'm so grateful for everything that's going on in the beautiful morning and the cup of coffee. And sometimes you get to create some beautiful, what do I want? But morning pages are just a way of connecting into yourself and processing everything that's going on in the quiet of the morning. And other times when I'm writing to someone. So often it's a letter of gratitude, or it's a letter of forgiveness. So I use writing as a processing tool. I'll give you another one that I do too, where you write and talk to your inner child. So you can change your pen in different hands. So there's just so many things that we can do to process our emotions. So one of my beloved ones, of course, is writing. So I'm just wondering if there are any of you out there that have a story to tell, or are on a healing journey, and you know that you need to process a chapter of your life, something that's happened to you. Maybe it's been a trauma, a tragedy, an unpacking of your past. Maybe you have a story you want to share with your family. Maybe you want to leave a legacy. Maybe you want to write some lessons to your son or daughter. Maybe you want to write a beautiful love letter to your partner or someone who's passed on. Perhaps it's just recording a slice of something interesting that's happened to you, and you're not sure how on earth to go about doing it, or your life is far too busy, and so maybe you want to come and join us on a retreat. So depending when you listen to this, Sarah Bullen and I run writing retreats. We run them in South Africa, we run them in Spain, we run them in Greece. So just keep a check out on my website, and I'll put a link below this as to the one that's coming up. And maybe you want to come and process something that's going on for you, but in a safe environment, in a structured environment. I'm not going to say too much more about it. This is really about how do you allow yourself to process emotions so that you can get on with living your life. So this is Kate Emerson. I'm known as the Quick Shift Deva. So it's all about what do we do to create quick shifts so that you can get back to shining your light. That's what the word Deva actually means. It means good spirit, divine being, or shining light. I want to help you get rid of all the crap so that you can shine your light and live your best life. Lots of love.